Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Worth Your Time, our second
Yes,
special episode of movies that are actually in theaters. Today, we're
for
talking
once.
about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Yeah!
Ben,
Jared, Boston makes me feel good.
oh, Busted makes me feel so good. I gotta know, what do you think of this movie?
I thought this movie was not as good as the last one.
I agree!
It was not as good as Afterlife. I'm
No,
coming right out with it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't bad,
no,
but it was not as good as Afterlife.
it just felt,
It felt like half of a movie that was stretched
yeah,
out.
yeah. And I don't know. I felt like there were so many characters in it. Like there was like so many people on screen all the time. And I was like, yo, there's a lot of people right here. There's a lot
Yep.
to keep up with.
Yeah, I
Um,
feel like there was a lot of characters, way too much. There was too much back and forth between three different plots all happening at once.
yes.
It was
It
too
felt to
much.
me like they were going a TV show route and not a movie. Like it was like you'd be following this certain plot line for a bit and then you completely switch and then you complete to go to another character side story. And I know movies do that, but just this felt weirdly like sometimes it should end and there'd be like, "Oh, tune in next week for the next episode, find out what happens next." But just this just kept going and then it ended. And it was like, "Oh, okay, I guess
Yeah.
that's it." But that being said, I still didn't hate it. I liked it. I had a good time with it, but I just didn't
I
have as good of a time as I wanted to.
I felt like the villain wasn't as big as the trailers made it seem to be.
No, I agree. And I don't want to get into spoilers yet,
Yeah,
but
yeah. I'm just the trailer
he's
showed the
not
villain,
in it
so
very much. And the villain is like heavily advertised. Like it's advertised that it's a frozen empire, you know? And that it's like that's going to be the whole movie. But that's like the last 20 minutes, if that. Like it only ever gets to a frozen city at the very, very end.
yeah. I'm thinking there's gonna be this big cool lich dude there. There's the whole time, just constantly a threat looming. But he
Mm-hmm.
has to show up, like you said, in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like this. I don't know. It just like they hyped up the wrong thing. I don't know. And there was some things thrown in there. I was like, well, that was random and out of the clear blue sky. We'll get into it in
Yes.
spoilers, but it's just like,
Yes.
why?
And I just remembered one of the things I had a weird issue with. There's a whole plot line in this
Yeah. Oh,
that
I
just
think.
feels
I wonder if we had the same
so
plot line.
it's so out of
No,
place.
there's actually
And
two plot
it's
lines I think are out of place. Okay.
okay. Well, man, it's so hard to do this without spoilers, but I will say some things I did like about it. I love seeing the original Ghostbusters still.
Yes. Always. Yeah.
Seeing yeah, seeing them all together again is so great. I love that Winston had a bigger role in this. I
Yes,
felt
I felt like that
yeah.
was a lot nicer. We actually got to see sort of backside of Ghostbusters and the sort of development and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't just a couple dudes in the shed. There was actually some budget behind Ghostbusters, if I guess you could say, if that makes sense.
Yes, yes. And I like that Paul Rudd was in this, like way more than the last one, not just in it
Yes.
in general, but he was like pretty much the main character, it felt like to me. And
He
maybe
was
not the
not, but
main character,
okay.
but one of them. One of them. That's what I'm saying. Like he
Yeah, he
wasn't just
was
like
a
the
major
teacher.
character.
He was a major character in this, and I love his dilemma of, how do I become this father figure to these kids that aren't my kids, you know?
Yeah.
And I felt like that was great. So before we go any further, I feel like we should just go ahead and say worth your time or not and get into spoilers. Unless you have something else that you can think of non spoiler.
Honestly, we kind of went into how we feel about it already. It is kind of eh.
Yeah.
I say we just get right into it. I would
Okay.
say, okay, it's not really worth. Okay, I have a hard time saying this because I can't say it was bad, but it's not
Yeah.
worth going to the movies for, if that makes sense. That's not really not
No.
worth your, it's not worth your time, not worth your money. Like I don't know how
Yeah.
to put that.
I
It's still
was
fun to
happy
watch, but yeah.
I was happy I paid matinee prices for it.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
because I did that, I was like, okay, cool. I feel like that's sort of worth it. Like, it was $8, you know? And I had a good time for 2 hours. Not great, but good. So if you're a
Yeah, it was
Ghostbusters
more
fan,
Ghostbusters.
if you're a Ghostbusters fan, then yeah, I'd say it was. But if you're kind of like, I liked Afterlife, but not much else, I don't think you're gonna be super crazy about this. So
Yeah.
I feel like it goes on that. But let's get into spoilers. There's some things
Scared.
I really want to talk about.
Okay. Go for it.
The weird plot line with the ghost girl.
Yeah. She did not have to be in that movie at all, and nothing would have
No,
changed.
no, literally. Like, I get it. She was working for whatever his name was. I don't remember. The big guy, the big bad guy. But she didn't have to be in it. They could have just said, like, whenever they touched it, or like whenever God, Ray scanned the thing, that's what opened it, or something. There didn't have to be a whole plot line where this ghost girl gets Phoebe's trust and then like makes her come out of her body so that way she can speak this ancient language while she's unconscious and then release
Question mark? Yeah, it was
it? Like,
very
what?
weird. Yeah.
She was like, yeah, it needs to be a human voice. And I'm like, she is whispering that in a tank. I doubt that can hear that. And like, why not just do the recording thing? When they have the recording, like, let that escape. And that's how he's released. You know? The weird ghost girl plot just felt so strange
And it
and
came up
weird.
out of freaking nowhere.
Yeah. Like at
She just
first I thought she was just going to be a one-off character like when Phoebe's in the park and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cute that Phoebe's just like, no, I'm not scared of
yeah,
you,
no,
like
a cute little
whatever."
ghost friend. She's like the ghost
Yeah.
whisperer. But then she kept showing up, and I'm just like,
Why is she still here? And see, okay, I liked the second scene too, where they get called to the diner and she like hesitates on, like shooting her with the plasma
yeah,
gun. I was
it's like
like,
her friend.
"Ooh, that's interesting." But then it goes through this whole plot of where she becomes like this super important character. And I'm like, "Why did they
See,
choose to do
here's
this?"
direction I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to go. Phoebe develops sympathy for ghosts, so she
Yes.
lets the lich out of the orb, thinking it's just a dude. You know,
Yeah.
that's where I thought it was going to go
I like that better.
because that made sense. She was developing
Yeah.
sympathy,
Yeah. And
and I'm
I
just
like that
like,
idea. Ben, you should have been a film writer on
and then
that.
we literally saw them in captivity. The different ghosts
Hmm.
and like the zoo little exhibits and stuff like that.
Yes.
They like
Yes.
set all of that up.
Yeah.
They just like
Yeah.
made it something different.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it was so weird. The sexual tension between that human and that ghost was off the charts. I don't know
Yes.
why that was really weird. She was like, I'm forever 16. I
But I
don't
was like,
care.
also, you're
You
hundreds of years
died.
old.
If you died when you
Yeah.
were 16, but you were been dead for like 30 years, you were not 16 anymore.
Yeah. And Phoebe's 15. So I was like,
That's just weird.
yeah. I will say, I liked Trevor more in this movie than I did in Afterlife.
Yes.
I
He
feel like,
actually
yeah.
went in the attic.
Yes. Yeah. I
He's
love
like,
that
I'm an
when
adult
his
now. Well, then go take care of it, Mr. Adult.
yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay, at least he did it, and he tried to handle it himself, And then at the end, when Slimer like shows back up, I was the only person in the theater who laughed at this. But when Slimer just randomly shows back up, he's like, I know that guy. I thought that line was really good.
Yep. I was like, he's just like this stupid. He's just like the dubby. It was awesome. And then
Yeah.
Ray had a big role in this movie, surprisingly.
Yes, and I liked that. I liked that. I loved his role. And I like how like Winston tried to talk him down and be like, like this is supposed to be your golden years, like just chill out, take a break, And he's like, "But this is what I want to do. This is what I love." You know? And I love that.
So let me ask you this.
Hmm.
So Ghostbusters, Spirit Realm, and all that.
Yes.
Avatar and spirits in the same universe because they were firebenders.
Oh yeah. God. And
That
I
was also a
liked,
plot that could have not existed, but just was thrown in there for some reason.
yeah, Kumail Nanjiani or something, however you say his name. I love how I kind of like that. I love how he was just like, I'm the fire master. You know, like,
It was so random. I'm just like,
yeah, yeah,
why is this even in? Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but just like that's unnecessary.
yeah,
He was just a
yeah.
character that they did not put. He was like Winston in the first Ghostbusters. Like
Yes, yes,
it
exactly.
was just like, why is he here? Like
Yeah.
really?
And I mean, he did help in the end, but still, it's like he didn't do much.
Yeah, it was so weird.
But I
I'm
love
just
seeing
like,
Peter
it's
back.
bizarre.
I love seeing Melnitz. I love seeing Winston, like we said, and Ray. Like I love that they all had like a good sizable role in this, and it wasn't just like a little cameo like Afterlife, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up my notes here to make sure I don't miss nothing because I did take notes of
Okay.
this one too. Oh, this is just a stupid side tangent. But when podcast
Uh-huh.
hit puberty hard,
He did, man. That kid looked way different.
puberty
I
hit
was
him
like,
like a
yo. Like when he first showed up with Ray, I was like, is that a podcast? And then like he started talking and I was like, that's freaking podcast, dude.
puberty hit that kid like a freaking truck.
Did him a favor, man. It did him a big
He
favor.
wasn't done either. Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
goodness. So what I was gonna say, when Phoebe first like goes to see podcast in Ray's basement and all this stay this is such a stupid thing. But all the Stay Puft Marshmallow little guys, there was one Stay Puft Marshmallow man who was getting super zesty with that magnifying glass. He was on. He was like, he was, and he was, he was
He's going ham.
pleasuring that magnifying glass.
That's
I don't
hilarious.
know why that stuck out to me, but he was going ham on
Oh my gosh.
it just I don't know, that just made me laugh. And consistently those little guys are just murdering themselves.
And I love
sticking their
that. I think that's
sticking their
hilarious.
arms into like pencil sharpeners, putting their face on like a cigarette lighter, and it's like they're so just disgusting and cute at the same time.
Yes. Did you see the mid-credit scene, or did you
Yes.
leave?
With the
Okay.
truck?
Yes.
That's why I mentioned the cigarette lighter.
Okay. Yeah. 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 I can't tell if that's teasing that they're gonna be like the next thing that they have to deal with,
I
or
wouldn't
what.
think so. They've dealt with them before. I think it's just like a fun little
Okay.
thing.
That's what I just wanted to ask your opinion on that. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Or are you ready to rate it?
I don't know. I was just gonna say that people ignore the Ghostbusters. Like there's like literally like the one scene where Phoebe is fighting off a freaking lion that's trying to kill people. She fights him off, and
Yes.
then the mayor's like, "Why'd you destroy the lion?" I'm like,
Even Winston. Even Winston
because
said
it
something.
was trying to kill people. Like,
Yeah.
huh?
I
There
was
were
like, what?
there was witnesses. It's outside of a public building that probably has cameras.
Yeah.
Some of the logical
And the
leaps of this
cops were
just don't
there.
make
Like they
sense.
saw it.
Some of the
um
leaps in logic are just like, what?
Now, one thing I want to say, one feel good moment that I surprisingly was
Oh,
touched by.
sorry. I remembered something.
Okay, a feel good moment that I was surprisingly touched by was at the very end when Phoebe like just says to Gary like dad or something like that.
Yeah. It
And I
was
was
so
like, and his just reaction, his face just completely like melted. And I was like, that feels so real. Like I love that. I feel
it
bad for
was
that man.
so cheesy, but in the best way.
Yes. I was like, oh my god, that like hit me.
Yep.
Okay,
definitely.
what do you
Oh
remember?
my goodness. It just froze. Okay, you're back. Okay. It froze for a second there. So the thing I was gonna say, there was a callback. Do you remember? In the library.
Oh, the library ghost. Yes.
Yes. Yes, and Ray
Yeah.
saw it. It was like, like he's like freaking losing his mind.
That was
That
really
was
cool.
awesome. And then the librarian was like, "You're not allowed 50 feet within here." Like, I
Yeah.
love the call. And then okay, the motorcycle. It was called Echo.
C.
Why? Why? I should be called Echo 2. The car was Echo
Yeah,
1. I don't know why it
I
was. That was
know.
weird. I don't know.
That was. I did like that they called back on Ghostbusters 2 in this one when they mentioned the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
this in New York, there hasn't been enough damage since, or this much damage since '89. Whereas in Afterlife, they only reference the first one. So I was
Mhm.
like, it's cool that they're like actually saying that that's canon again. Like that's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Do you want to rank them? Because I kind of want to rank them.
Ooh, okay. Are we ranking old ones and new ones? That feels a bit
Yes,
weird to do
yes.
that.
The series.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the four. Those are all canon. It's that
Okay.
series.
You go first because it is very hard.
Okay, for me, it'd be Afterlife, Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Ghostbusters 2.
Dude, you read my mind. I was thinking the same
Really?
thing. Because, like, okay,
Okay.
Afterlife is like, okay, this is like the rediscovering of a legacy. It's like a whole
Yes.
thing. There's some weight behind the name Ghostbusters at this point. That's why that
Mm-hmm.
movie has such a big impact. Then you
Yes.
go, okay, why does this thing have such an impact? That leads you into the first movie. And it's like, okay, the
Mm-hmm.
first movie is when everything gets introduced. And then it's
Yes.
like, okay. And then we go back to like something more modern. Frozen Empire is like, okay. It's a bit more. I chalk Ghostbusters 2 and Frozen Empire due to just
They're
modern
right
cinema.
there.
They're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
interchangeable. It just depends. Like
Yes.
modern cinema is a little bit easier to digest. So it's not as
Mm-hmm.
old. But they
Yeah.
can kind of be swapped
They
realistically.
can for me too. Yes. I could put Frozen Empire on the bottom, but I just feel like maybe because I was in the theater and because I
Mm,
was with a group of people, like
yeah,
I wasn't with a group of people, but there's people in the theater. It's like
yeah,
I could see people enjoying it, and there were kids there who'd probably never seen a Ghostbusters movie or something, and they were like, "Oh, that's so cool," and stuff like that. And I was like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Okay, cool, yeah, I'm having a good time." So, what would you give this 1 out of 10?
Ooh, ooh, that's hard. I'm gonna have to give it 5.
I'm gonna be a little more generous. I'm gonna give it a 6 because I did have fun with it, but just it's not my favorite. It's not a 9 or anything like Afterlife. Like,
See, so for me, I only had fun with it because of the name Ghostbusters.
yes, yes,
If it wasn't Ghostbusters, I'd be like, this is just stupid,
yeah, yeah.
you know? And that's why it's 5. It wasn't utter trash.
Mm-mm.
It did. You can't discount the name. It did have the name Ghostbusters. It did have all that stuff in there. Um, so it's a solid middle of the road. Which,
Yeah,
when you're looking for a good movie, you're not looking for a middle of the road movie. You're looking for high quality movie. Um,
yeah,
so like I don't know. It's just like 5. It's just kind of, if it's on TV or it's available on Netflix, why not? Just so you complete the series. But
yeah,
it's not.
yeah,
It's not worth seeking out unless you're trying to complete the series.
yeah. And now we completed Ghostbusters. You've seen them all except for the 2016 one. We're not going to talk about that one. We're not talking about the girl Ghostbusters.
Jared,
What?
has to happen.
Yeah, we'll get there. If they come out with a new one, then we'll be like, okay, we got to watch something before this. We'll watch the girl one. Not that I dislike women. That's not what I'm saying. It's just not a good movie. So we'll
Dude,
get there. Yeah.
we gotta watch it.
Oh my God, not anytime
I
soon.
know
We
it's
have so much
bad.
other stuff to
I
watch.
know it's bad, but like my microphone is shocking me. What the
Look, it's
That is
really bad,
weird.
Ben, and I know you're gonna make me watch it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm just gonna have to go with it.